as you can tell from the title, today we are going to be talking about my mid-year freakout tag. This tag was created by another YouTuber, which I will put their name here. And the mid-year freakout tag is just basically a bunch of questions that recaps the first 6 months of the year. So let's just get right into it. So I have a reading goal of 30 books this year, and I have read, as of like mid-July, by the way, I have read 20 books. So I'm way ahead of my actual goal, which is great. Mostly they were romance because I wasn't feeling well. I wanted to read a bunch of really light reads, really easy and quick reads. But now moving on to like the next half of the year, I think I'm going to be reading a lot more historical fiction and literary fiction, which I love that for me. So let me just jump right into the questions. And I have my laptop here, so I will be looking at it a lot. The first question is, what is the best book you've read so far in 2024? And I feel like I read some really good books this year, but if I had to pick one, and one that I was fairly surprised about, like I wasn't expecting to like it that much, it's gonna have to be Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. And if you are part of the book world, it's not even surprising that I said that, because it sounds like everybody likes this book and everybody likes Abby Jimenez, and for good reason. But the reason why I really like Abby Jimenez's books, specifically Yours Truly, is because in all of her romance books, the characters just seem so real and so human, in the sense that they are flawed. The male love interest, he has anxiety and I have anxiety, so I really related to a lot of the things that he was feeling, and I really liked how the female main character and love interest was very empathetic to him. So if you are not a big reader of romance and you kind of want to get into romance, or even if you don't want to get into romance, I think you should read Abby Jimenez's 3 works, Yours Truly, Part of Your World, and Just for the Summer, because Abby Jimenez actually works with a lot of mental health professionals to kind of get a professional input or feedback regarding her work, which I just find so inspiring, or like I just find that so commendable, because she knows what her limits are, you could say, and she actually consults with the professionals and gets feedback regarding a lot of these mental health issues. So yeah, that was my best book that I've read so far. Then there is new releases you haven't read yet but you want to, and girl, let me tell you, there is a lot. So my most anticipated release for the end of 2024 definitely has to be Somewhere Beyond the Sea, which is the second book to The House on the Cerulean Sea. I really like that first book because it's about found family, it's about these orphans slash foster home, and I just personally really like stories about kids that come from a broken home, kids that find people who choose to love them, not because they have to, but because they want to. So I am just really curious to see what happens in the next book. The next question is my biggest disappointment. And the thing is, if you guys did not know, I am a serial DNFer, which basically means that I will stop reading books the moment I remotely dislike it. So there's only one book that I actually there's 2 that I continued reading even though I absolutely hated it, and that is, first one, you're not going to be surprised if you know anything about fantasy books. The first one that I was really disappointed by is Feybound. Horrible writing. You could just really tell this book was rushed. There was no quality control in this book. The editing wasn't done well. The world building wasn't done well. Some parts of the story was vibes, but overall it was a poorly written book, and I just wanted to love it so bad, and the cover is just so beautiful, so I don't know why it was that bad. Next question is, what is the biggest surprise of 2024? And if we're just talking about the beginning of 2024, okay, because now it's August as I'm recording this, and I already have like 4 surprises in August, okay? But if we're just talking about the beginning of the year, I would say my biggest surprise is, which one am I gonna choose? Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I think a lot of people love this book. I love this book, but I just didn't think I would love it that much, you know? The reason why this is the biggest surprise for me is because I like romance and I am a romance reader, but I never actually expect to be moved by a romance book. I never actually expect to feel anything other than like cheesiness and giddiness and, you know, hee hee ha ha giggles. But Just for the Summer, I think it really touched me in a way because the romance is so obviously written, like the man is so written by a woman coded. He makes pre-date surveys, post-date surveys, is always trying to reassure his love interest, and I just think that, like, wow, do men like this really exist, you know? I was really surprised, I was really moved, but also there are some emotional elements with the main character and her mother. I guess you could say her abusive and neglectful mother, her mother who also suffers from, I believe it's borderline personality disorder. It was just so well written for such a sensitive topic. And I think Just for the Summer was my biggest surprise because I just never expect a romance book to be able to be so hard-hitting and talk about such difficult topics in the way that it so eloquently did. Favorite new author, debut, or new to you? You're gonna be so bored because the answer is Abby Jimenez. Like, I read all 3 of her books back to back because I just loved it so much. Other than Abby Jimenez, most of the books that I read this year were also by Ali Hazelwood, but she's not a new author to me, so I can't really choose this. But I do think Abby Jimenez is that for me, just because her writing was really good, the topics she covered were really good, the flow, the story, it was all really good. Guys, she deserves the hype that she gets. If you are even remotely curious to read an Abby Jimenez book, I think you should just get over yourself and do it. Like, the hype that she gets is so warranted and well-deserved. Like, give that woman her flowers. And the next question is newest fictional crush. You're gonna be so bored by my answer. I feel like this whole video is just me alluding to one book over and over again. My newest fictional crush is Justin from Just for the Summer. That's it. Like, this is literally what the whole booktube said. This was their answer to this question, okay? Are you surprised? I'm not surprised. And if you read the book, you wouldn't be surprised either. So you better go out, buy yourself that book, and read the book because the hype is warranted, okay? Okay. Next question is newest favorite character. Okay, let me think about this one. Because there were a lot of good characters, there were a lot of bad characters, but I would say my newest favorite character is probably... Let me think. I don't think I have one, which is weird. It's so weird to say that, but I don't think I have one. I guess maybe Evelyn Hugo from The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I liked that she was blunt. I liked how she was able to maneuver and manipulate the main character into getting her to do what she wants. So that was really cool. But yeah, I don't really think there was like one specific character. I don't know. A book that made me cry. There were so many. But let's see. Okay. It has to be this book right here. Can you guys see that? And the Mountains Echoed. Okay? I think a lot of you guys already know that Khaled Hosseini is a great writer. He is my favorite author. It follows a story of a brother and a sister, Pari and Abdullah, and how their lives get changed forever when Pari is just a little girl, and through this shared pain and grief that they have, how they maneuver their lives, how they continue to live their two insanely contrasting lives and continue to feel this sense of longing, but they don't understand what it is that they long. Like, they just live their whole lives feeling that way, and just wow. Like, there's no way for me to explain this book without spoiling it. So I just think if you want to be moved, if you want to cry, if you want to laugh, if you want to feel for characters, this is the book. And I am just so mad that Khaled Hosseini refuses to write books anymore, because I just feel like you could be touching people's souls, Khaled. You could be touching people's souls, and you choose to do your great UN advocacy work. And I get it, you're doing great work. But you could also be touching our souls if you wrote more books. So yeah, it's And the Mountains Echoed. And then the most beautiful book that you've loved so far this year. Let me think about that one. See, the thing is, I am an ebook girly through and through. So if you ask me what is the most beautiful book that I've bought so far this year, I've literally only bought 5 books this year, like physical books. So I guess probably these two. I guess. But I also really like the cover of this, which is weird because it's just a simple cover, and I'm like a, what's the word? I'm like a extra kind of girly, so I don't really know why, but I really like this cover too. Oh, I also really like this cover. Can I say that? Can I choose 3? I'm gonna choose 3. This, by the way, is also a really good romance book, but we're not gonna talk about that in this video. Books I want to read by the end of this year. I want to read one Elena Ferrante book because she is so hyped up, and I want to know what the hype is. So I'm gonna start off by My Brilliant Friend. That's one that I want to read, and I believe that is literary fiction or historical fiction. Then another book that I want to read by the end of this year is called A Sorceress Comes to Call, and that is a fantasy book by T. Kingfisher, and it is already out, so you guys can start reading that. Another book that I really want to read by the end of this year is called Martyr by Kaveh Akbar, and I want to read it because it's actually nominated for the Booker longlist. It might win, so I want to read it before it wins. And it is basically another literary fiction book. It is about Cyrus Shams, a young man His mother's plane was shot down over Tehran, and his father's life in America was basically about his work killing chickens at a factory farm. Cyrus is a drunk, an addict, a poet, and he is obsessed with martyrs, and he examines mysteries of his past. And I really like it because it is a immigrant story, it is a queer story, it is a literary fiction, and probably a historical fiction story too. And it just sounds like it's right up my alley, because you guys already know I like Khaled Hosseini, and this seems similar-ish. Another book I need to read by the end of the year is Americana or Purple Hibiscus by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. That's another one, and let me choose one more, and then I'm gonna stop. And then I'll stop, okay? Oh girl, these books are so good. Okay, so another one that I want to read by the end of this year is called One Beauty by Zadie Smith. Actually, I just want to read any Zadie Smith book, and the reason why is because I read a short story called Recitatif by Toni Morrison, and it's like not even 100 pages. It is about two girls, and one of them is black and one of them is white, but we as a reader don't know who is who, and we are reading the story reading about certain descriptions or certain stereotypes or certain conversations, and we are making assumptions whether this character is white or this character is black. So does it say more about Toni Morrison's perception of the characters, or does it say more about how we view what is black and what is white based on how we perceive the characters? And even by the end of the book, we actually don't know which character is black and which character is white. So I think that was really kind of like a meta, am I using that word correctly? It's kind of like a thought-provoking book by Toni Morrison. But back to Zadie Smith, she actually wrote an introduction for that book, kind of like analyzing Morrison's writing. And it's so funny because I prefer the introduction by Zadie Smith more than I preferred Toni Morrison's short story. So that is how I got introduced to Zadie Smith. Yeah, I would like to read one of her books by the end of this year. I am so excited for this reading year because I feel like I'm exploring romance, I'm exploring historical fiction, literary fiction, and these are just genres that I have read in the past, but I think I'm like going deeper into it. I am more aware now about the books that I like, the books that I don't like, the genres that I prefer, and I think this is a really exciting year for me in my book journey. Thank you guys for watching me ramble for like God knows how long. I will probably be making another video next week. I am excited to get back into video making, even though I get like really nervous about people watching me on the internet. But you know what? Sometimes you just gotta say fuck you to your anxiety and just do things that make you happy, you know? So yeah, okay. I have a new video idea that I'm gonna like post probably next week. But let me know in the comments below what your favorite book is, because I actually might read it in my next video, okay? Okay. See you guys in the next one. Bye!